I'm the internal architect for Kirchhoff Companies. But at the very beginning, when the project was being developed, I pushed Joe towards the principles of new urbanism. I said, why don't we take some of those principles and start to do that here? They were a conventional developer. You know, Joe's background was in construction.
We've learned all the buzzwords, right? Creating place and all the stuff. What's that?
Activation.
Yeah.
We can laugh about it because it's all valid.
Yeah,
like we can give
true.
him a hard time about it because he knows we agree with it, and he makes incredibly compelling points, and it leads to great projects. Giovanni deserves an immense amount of credit for bringing new urbanist principles and some very, very fundamental concepts around planning and setback, scale and proportion and all sorts of stuff to keep things feeling very organic.
There's nothing better than an example, right? Like we borrow examples all the time. And Rhinebeck's just a very well-known, clean little village.
The main street of Rhinebeck, the scale, character, the incremental nature of the architecture there is very unique. And I think it was something that inspired all of us as we began thinking about what this main street could be.
This concept of having a main street and having parallel parking and having sidewalks that are 15 foot wide, by walking through Rhinebeck, that the depth of the sidewalk allows this to happen, right? Where you have people sitting out here and eating. You and I are communicating out here. When a 5-foot sidewalk would be very uncomfortable.
One of my earliest memories of us thinking about this project ever was you, Joe, and me going and having a sandwich at Rossi's in Poughkeepsie.
That's right.
It was exactly that kind of a spirit of tenant that you wanted to have here. And they ended up being one of the first tenants on the corner. And for me, that set the tone for the sort of authenticity of this whole place.
You get a few early sort of locally known, almost credentializing tenants. That helps immensely too.
Tremendously.
We had Premier Medical Group and then Rossi's, which is a very venerable, sort of well-known 40-plus-year-old family business here in the area.
We've had a company now for 45 years, and we always knew we were going to grow, and we needed a facility where it would give us the statement we were looking for.
We wanted to create a mechanism for them to own their own real estate. For us, it just creates permanence on Main Street, less turnover, more stability.
We did not want to go into a scenario where big box stores would kind of take over, and so the fact that these businesses would be owner-operated, meaning an owner was on site all the time, really persuaded us to do this project.
Here's one of the battles, right, that I had to fight internally. Hey, let's take a 6,000 square foot building, get rid of it, put a green there instead, and put 4 500 square foot cottages.
Yeah.
But once they understood that that green was going to be space for us to have our events, but also the small cottages became incubators, right?
To be able to have a small business come in and sort of test the waters there, and when they got their feet under them, then they could move into a more established retail space on the main street.
The bagel shop was one of our first tenants. He was so successful that he's in a larger building here. He ended up taking one of the cottages to do a second concept.
3.5 years ago, we opened the Eastdale Bagels. Now, a few months ago, we just opened up here behind me, Athena To Go. It's a little branch off of our restaurant that we have, Athena Taverna. When they first approached us, years ago, before this was even built, it looked great on paper, but I never envisioned it to ever look the way that it does now.
I really enjoy days like today when you can hear the kids on the square and watching people shopping and eating outside and enjoying themselves. They have no clue or any understanding of what's happened or what it's taken to create this place. It's very difficult to develop in New York, and people don't really understand new urbanism, and this concept of walkability or recreating a main street is almost foreign to Hudson Valley residents, so I see it as a win because it was actually developed.
It's hard to fathom and remember that this was basically an empty stretch of land. And you have created and we have created a place here that is now a regional destination, which is pretty incredible.